You're listening to Quiero Dinero, a personal finance podcast for the modern Latina. I'm your host, Janice Torres Rodriguez, and I'm here to help you be poderosa with your dinero. I'm an engineer, a blogger, and an entrepreneur that built a $50,000 side hustle, and I'm obsessed with all things personal finance. On this show, we're going to talk about how to make dinero, how to keep your dinero, and how to make it grow. Are you ready? Vámonos. Hola, mi gente. Welcome back to another episode of Yo Quiero Dinero, the podcast. This is your host, Janice, and today's episode is featuring another amazing guest with an amazing debt payoff story that I cannot wait for you to hear. We're going to be talking to Meriam Seboka of Melannial Money. Meriam is a German immigrant with Ethiopian heritage and creator of Melannial Money, where she's budgeting, crushing debt, and building generational wealth. Meriam found her passion for financial literacy soon after graduating from college while trying to improve her credit score. Her passion led her to switch careers to become a high school teacher in order to teach young people about the importance of managing their money. Let's find out how Meriam paid off over $16,000 of debt in the last 10 months. If you're a side hustler, a gig worker, or a full-on entrepreneur boss babe, you know that tax time sucks. But it's a necessary evil when it comes to owning your own business, so why not make it less stressful? That's why I love Keeper Tax. Keeper Tax automatically finds tax write-offs amongst your purchases for your business, and it helps people save over $1,200 in 10 minutes on average. First, they scan your past purchases for write-offs. It auto-monitors your purchases for write-offs you might have missed, and at tax time, you can file your taxes right through Keeper Tax or seamlessly export your savings. To find out more, check out keepertax.com/dinero. All right, Meriam, how are you? Thank you for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm so excited to talk to you, and we're going to get into how you paid off over $16,000 of debt in 10 months, which is just insane to me. But before we get into that discussion, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
All right. So I am Meriam. I am behind the IG account Melannial Money. I am 31 years old. I'm a high school educator, and I'm just really passionate about financial literacy, educating people about, just personal finance in general. So I actually do teach personal finance to high school students, and I got serious about paying off debt last summer. And since July 2019, I've paid off $16,000 of debt.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's amazing. And I love the fact that you're teaching students financial literacy because nobody's doing that. So how exactly do you go about doing that?
Exactly. I know. So definitely, so I live in Virginia, and Virginia is actually one of, I think, 5 states that now requires personal finance education in high school. So that's how I got into teaching personal finance. I used to be an accountant and a financial consultant, and then I switched careers. I went back and got my master's in education because I knew that financial literacy is something that I was passionate about. And I wanted to teach young people, like, basically to avoid all the mistakes that I made along the way, honestly. And if it's, and I think about it, I wish that's like the class I wish I had when I was in high school. And the fact that they offer it now is just like mind blowing. So I just wanted to like help kids and like be real with them.
Absolutely. Oh
Yeah.
my
And that,
gosh, I wish we had access to that when I was growing up. Like you said, it could have saved us all from so much drama.
so much drama, right? Exactly. Especially being like children of immigrants. But I'm an immigrant myself as well. I moved here when I was 9. So like my mom, like she didn't know anything about any of this stuff. And I don't blame her for that. But if we had like the school, somebody teaching us this, then we would have been further along. But I'm not mad about it, but I'm just happy I know better now so I can like pay it forward.
Yes, you're teaching the next generation and starting a wave that hopefully spreads to all 50 states and eventually all
Yes.
over the world. Because I know financial literacy is a universal problem, doesn't matter what
It,
country you're in.
it really is. And it's mind blowing to me that it's only 5 out of 50. Like it needs to
Mm.
be all 50, like you said, honestly.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I would love for us to get into your relationship with money, what that was like growing up, what did you learn about it, and how you became interested in personal finance. So you touched on the fact that you're from an immigrant household. So why don't you go ahead and tell us all about that?
Yeah, for sure. So both my parents are from Ethiopia, but I was actually born and raised in Germany, which is like super random. People are always like, "What? How did that happen?" But that's just like where my parents lived at the time. So I
Mm-hmm.
moved to the U.S. when I was about 9. But my parents were separated, so my mom was a single parent. And when I was in Germany, I thought like, I mean, I was like below 9, so I never really understood money. I thought we were okay. Like we would go on family vacations, stuff like that. But then when we moved to the US, it's kind of when I first realized, like, oh, okay, like maybe we don't have as much money as I thought, we did. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we lived with my aunt. Like, my aunt had like a huge house. Like, to this day, that's like one of the biggest houses I've ever seen. It's insane. But we lived in the basement. My mom, again, single parent. My sister and I are only a year apart. So her first job when we moved to the US was at Target, and then she ended up working at Hex, which is Macy's bought out. It's like a department store, and now she works for the airline industry. So she's always been in like a customer service type of job. She doesn't have anything above a high school diploma, so she's a single parent trying to make it, in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really. I think I realized that like really didn't have that much money because like I would ask her for stuff like for clothes or shoes and things like that, and she would be like, "Didn't I just buy you some like a few months ago or whatever?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but I want more." So
Mm.
as a kid, as a kid, I didn't really understand that. Um, so after a year of living like in the U.S., my sister and I actually, my mom sent us to boarding school, and it's crazy because at the time I was just so resentful. Like, I was like, "Mom, I can't believe we sent us to boarding school. Like, why would you do that?" Like I just thought like she didn't want us basically, right? And we ended
Yeah.
up we ended up spending 4 years at this boarding school in Virginia. And later when I got older, I truly understood that the reason that she sent us to this boarding school is because she really couldn't afford to raise us both at the same time while trying to like establish herself in the United States.
Oh,
And this,
wow.
yeah, so the boarding school was actually like a lot of times people think like it's for like rich people, like rich kids send their kids off to
Yeah,
boarding
I think of
school.
Donald
Yeah.
Trump when I think of boarding school.
Exactly. But it's legit like a boarding school that runs off of donations, and it's advertised as like a school for kids like whose parents don't really have much, so they don't charge you anything to go there. It's completely free. They board you, they educate you, all that. So I ended up coming back to live with my mom when I was in ninth grade. So I was in high school, and high school is like when you're like you you're
Super
trying to be,
rebellious.
yeah, you're rebellious. And she had two teenage girls that were 1 year apart, so
Ooh.
I don't even, yeah, and as a single mother, I don't know how she did it, honestly. So when I was in high school, I'm coming back to public school for the first time, and I have to worry about like my clothes and my shoes, and I'm trying to fit in and find friends and stuff. So it's all starting to hit me again when I'm like, "Oh, mom, like I need money for shoes, I need money for clothes and all this." And she's just like, "Girl, I don't have it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what you want me to do?" So as soon as I turned 16, I got a job. I've been working basically since I've been, actually I think I was like 15 when I got a job, 15. And I basically got a job just so I can buy like cool clothes and cool shoes, right? Just so I can, fit in and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. So I saw money as a way to buy the things that I wanted. Not necessarily like I shouldn't be saving money for college. I didn't really care about stuff like that. I was like, I just want the coolest new shoes, the coolest new clothes. And, so basically when I was a child or younger, like I saw money as this like unattainable thing. I don't want to say unattainable, but basically like we didn't have a lot of it, right? So then once I got a job, I was like, oh yeah, now I have all this money, so I can spend it however I want. I didn't really have that mindset of like, oh no, like you should save some, you should do this. It was kind of like, oh, now I have a little bit of money, so I'm gonna go get all of these things that I wasn't able to get before. And that kind
Mm-hmm.
of like that basically was my mindset all the way through like my 20s as well, honestly. So
Yeah.
that's basically, yeah, my relationship with money, how I grew up. So I grew up low income, Section 8, always had free lunch. And then as soon as I got a little bit of money, I was like, I'm just going to blow this on whatever I want. So
Well, isn't
not,
that like so typical of many immigrant households, including mine, that like we just are raised in this scarcity mindset, right? So it's like
For
you're not
sure.
planning for the future with money. You're just like, when I get it, it's meant to be used because I never have enough. And
Exactly.
then it just perpetuates the cycle of lack.
Exactly. You're like, I don't have enough and I don't know when I'm going to get more, so I might as well just
Mm-hmm.
spend this now. Yeah. So, and honestly, that's like still my mom's mindset to this day. So I definitely like, inherited that from her because she's like that too. Like she'll get like a refund or whatever, and she's like, okay, I'm going to go do this. I'll get this bag or I'll go on this trip or whatever. But it's, yeah, we got to break the cycle for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so the debt that you paid off, the $16,000. So where did
Mhm.
that come from?
Okay, so when I first started paying off debt, it was last summer. I had $40,000 in debt.
Mm,
23,000 was student loans, 13,000 in credit cards, and then I had about $4,000 left in on my car loan.
mm-hmm,
So currently, my car is paid off. So I've paid off my car. I think about 8,000 of that is my student loans have gone down by 8,000, and then the
mm-hmm,
rest of it is my credit cards. So right now I still have my student loans left and my credit cards left.
mm-hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
hmm
And so your spending habits, like what were they like to get you into $13,000 of credit card debt?
Oh, okay. So, what's crazy? I actually had already like paid off my credit cards, like fixed my credit, did all that, right?
Mm-hmm,
Probably I want to say like as soon as I graduated from college, I saw my credit score. Not as soon, it's probably like two years later, but I saw my credit score. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is bad. Like it's so shitty. It's so shitty. And I was like, how do I improve this? So like I did all this research on how to improve your credit. So I paid off all my credit cards and I told myself, like, I'm not going to get into credit card debt. What happened was I went back to grad school in 2017, and I kind of like used my credit cards like to like help pay for like my lifestyle. I guess like put gas
mm-hmm,
in my car, you know, get groceries and stuff like that. And my credit card, it was a 0% interest credit card for 15 months. So I just kept
mm,
telling myself like I'm just gonna put a little bit, and then I'll pay it off like next month when I get paid from my. I only had a part-time job at the time, but it's just like I went back honestly and looked at the statements, and it was just trying to keep up with my friends. Like I
mm,
honestly, that's all it was. Like I ended up going to Rolling Loud, which is in Miami. It's like this music festival. As soon as I graduated, right? I graduated with my master's. Honestly, like that Thursday, and then Rolling Out Loud was on Friday. And I had told myself, I told myself, I was like, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go. It's not like I can't afford it. But then all my friends were going, right? And I was like, oh my goodness, all my friends are gonna go. I'm gonna miss out on this. So I just put the ticket on my credit card. I was like, I'm gonna pay it off later. It's 0% interest, right? But of
right.
course that of course that introductory period ran out and the credit card debt was still there. So all of that was basically like that 1 year I was in grad school, just like
Mm.
different stuff just building up. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
so hard, especially saying no to things when you know you can't afford them. Like, I think peer pressure
exactly.
plays such a big role in like making us make decisions that we normally wouldn't make if we didn't have that
Yeah,
outside influence.
for sure. And it's crazy because the thing is like before I went to grad school, I was an accountant and I was making decent money. So now it's like I didn't have a job anymore and I'm in grad school, so it didn't like my mindset hadn't completely shifted to like, hey girl,
Hmm.
we need to be frugal now. We don't have money, okay?
Right.
So but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's an important conversation to have with ourselves when things change in
Seriously,
life.
for real, for sure.
Oh man. Okay, so you realize at some point, okay, this cannot continue. So can you talk about like what your light bulb moment was or what motivated you or inspired you to make a change in how you were handling your money?
Oh yeah, for sure. So last summer, I was just hanging out. So last summer was the first summer at like my first year of teaching. That was the first summer I had like off, right? So I didn't have to work. I had nothing to do. So I wasn't really doing much. Like I wasn't really spending a lot of money or anything. But my friend, she randomly sends me this video of her friend. It's her one of her friends that she got her PhD with, and it's a girl on YouTube. Her name is Shayna. Her channel is like the Wealth Vibe. She has an Instagram as well, but she's not like that active on Instagram. But her YouTube
Mhm.
video basically was like she paid off $58,000 in debt in 18 months, right? And I was just like, what? How could you pay? I was just like, dude, like this is insane. Like, how could anybody do this, you know? And
Right.
I was watching her video, and she's talking about how like she side hustled. She did like DoorDash, and she does all different types of like she does consulting, whatever. Like she had like so many side hustles basically, and I was just so impressed, you know. And I was just like, okay, if somebody can pay off that much debt in 18 months, and I have less debt than her, and I'm sure she's making more than me, but still, I am sure if I like sit down and look at the numbers, I can somehow like figure out a plan to like get out of debt. And
Hmm.
then around the same time, I heard Tiffany, the Budgetnista, on a podcast, and it's not a personal finance podcast. It's just like one of those like pop culture like podcasts. And she
Yeah.
was just a guest on there, and she was just talking about all these different things, and I was just like, what am I doing? You know, I was like, come on, like I seriously, like, I felt like a fraud. I'm not gonna lie, because I teach kids about personal finance, right? I teach them like, hey, don't go into credit card debt. It's literally the worst thing ever. You know, interest rates are out the ass. Like, don't do it. Like, think about
Hmm.
student loans. Like, don't get into too much student loans. But here I am. I'm 30 years old, and I have $40,000 of debt. What am I doing to like actively pay this off? Like, you know what I mean? So that's when I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be in debt forever. Like, I'm trying to build generational wealth. Like, I don't want my kids to have the same story that I have. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I just know so much more. You know, I have so much more knowledge, and I should be doing better. So that's when I
Hmm.
was like, okay, like get it together. So yeah, that was July 2019. So
Shout out to the budget Nista. I need to have her on the show. I'm obsessed with her
yes,
life.
I I seriously love her so much. She's
And
yeah,
I think she's from New Jersey, so that
she
makes
is.
us cousins, right?
Yeah,
So
she's from Jersey. She was a preschool teacher in Jersey for like 10 years or something, and she still lives there. I'm pretty sure she lives in
oh,
Jersey.
that's
Yep.
awesome. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta reach out to her team. That would be freaking
Mhm.
amazing.
That
All
would
right,
be
so
so dope.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about your game plan. How did you get started and like how much total debt you've paid off and what
Mhm.
strategies did you use?
All right. So I went to the Budgetnista's website, and she was talking about on the podcast how she has all these different like free email programs where you can like they're basically jumpstart you on like getting you on the right like mindset and the track to pay off debt. So I went to her website, and she has a bunch of little challenges called the live richer challenges. And I signed up for one, and every day they send you something into your email, and it's like it's different like they'll like give you a little bit of information, and then at the end of it it'll give you like a prompt or like a task, and
Mhm.
one of them, like the first one, was like list out all your debt, from like highest to lowest or whatever, put your interest rate, all these other things. Then the next day maybe she'll tell you to like make a budget. The next day it'll be like, oh, now call all your like the people like your cell phone company, your cable company, and see if they offer any discounts. So I started with that. But then I just like looked at the numbers, and I just saw that like, so much of my debt was going to interest. I mean, so much of my payments were going to interest. So I tried to figure out a way how I can get my interest lowered. So the first thing I did honestly was I only have two credit cards. I transferred both of the balances to a new credit card. So I wouldn't I'm not gonna like advise this to everybody, but it was something that's worked for me. So basically what I did was one of my balances I think was like 6,000 or something like that. So that one I transferred to this card called the City Simplicity card, and at the time they were offering 21 months with zero interest if you transferred the balance over there. So that basically, so I put myself on a 21-month like payment plan for that credit card, right? Because now I have this um, 21 months where I'm not paying any interest on this credit card. So I divided
Mhm.
like 6,000 by 21, and I pay like that much towards that credit card every single month. Another thing I
Mhm.
did was I refinanced my student loans. So I took all my federal loans, and then I refinanced them through SoFi, so I could get a lower interest rate. So that way, when I'm making like these bigger payments, it's actually like reducing the principal by a lot more, and not just like getting eaten up by interest. So
Yes.
yeah, that's like a few things I did. So my game plan right now is I have like my credit card's on this balance transfer, so they're basically on a deadline that I need to pay them off within a certain period of months, right? So I pay like whatever that amount is. So for example, I think the one card that's like 21 months, I need to pay like $350 a month in order for it
Mm-hmm.
to be paid off in 21 months. So I pay that, and then any extra money that I have, I just put towards my student loans because that's the debt that actually has interest. That's the only debt that's accruing interest currently because my credit cards are on that balance transfer. So that's my strategy. I pay the amount on those credit cards like that will have them paid off by the balance transfer deadline. And then any extra money I have, I just throw at my student loans to decrease those as much as possible.
When I decided I wanted to launch a podcast, I have to admit, I had no idea where I was going to start. That is until I found Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It gives you everything you need all in one place for free, and you can use it right from your phone or computer. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. And get this, they'll even help you distribute your podcast so it can be heard everywhere like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Isn't that freaking awesome? I mean, what are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's awesome. And I love the strategies that you shared. I'm such a big fan of refinancing. I did the
Mhm.
same thing. I actually refinanced my student loans 4 times in two
Oh, that's
years.
awesome. Yeah. And a lot of people right now, honestly, like I'm a little bit sad that I refinanced them just because of like, COVID-19 and how the
Yeah.
federal federal student loans are like on a freeze, but there's no way I would have known that that was going to happen. But no, that's honestly if you are if you can refinance, then you should definitely do it. Just make sure that you like, you weigh the pros and cons because um, one of the cons, for example, is now that everybody's on a federal, the federal student loan freeze, like because mine is a private loan now, I don't qualify for that. So there's like
Hmm.
definitely some cons, but I mean, I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons if you're trying to get rid of that debt fast.
Yeah, for sure. Because there is no way to refinance federal loans with the federal government. You get the rate that you get and you're stuck with it.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the idea of the balance transfers. I know not everybody's a big fan of this, but I
Yeah.
have actually taken advantage of it several times throughout my debt
Mhm.
payoff journey. Most recently, when I had like a lot of expenses that were related to me moving from New Jersey to Florida that I just did
Yeah.
not have in my budget. And
Yeah.
so I was able to put those expenses on an 18-month 0% interest credit card and like not be stressed out about, oh my God, like here's $10,000 worth of expenses, like getting freaking interest
Yeah,
when I'm just
exactly.
trying to handle all this other stuff.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, right? And it's all about discipline, right? Are you going to be disciplined enough to be able to pay that off within the 18 months or the 21 months, right? Because
Right.
because if you can't, then it's kind of like I don't say there's no point. You'll still have like that 0% interest, but yeah, just have a plan, definitely. But I agree with
Hmm.
you because sometimes like, things happen. Like you don't have the money um, for what you need, and it's not the worst idea to get a 0% card if you can pay it off within the time limit or time
Hmm.
period. But you're so right. Like people are so anti in this
I mean,
space for
it
sure.
just depends because, like, there are fees obviously associated with those balance transfers for the most
Yeah,
part too, unless you're
yeah, for
lucky
sure.
to find an offer that has a 0% transfer fee, which
Yeah,
I have encountered rarely, but it does happen. So
yeah.
you just have to do a cost to benefit analysis and
Analysis
figure out,
for
like,
sure.
are those fees worth what you're trying to do?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Because the fees that I've seen are like 3 or 5%, and of course that's like when compared to out of 6,000, like yeah, that's a lot. And then like you said, like I did a cost benefit analysis. So like if I keep it here and this is accruing like 20% interest every single month, like the fee is going to be less than the interest that I'm accumulating. But yeah, definitely look at the fees before you decide to balance transfer for sure.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So you are in process of your debt payoff journey. Have you like encountered any obstacles?
Honestly, I've only been I don't say only, but it's because it's been almost a year since I've been doing this now, and I haven't encountered any like huge setbacks. I've just had to like reprioritize a little bit. Like when I first started this, I was like, okay, every single dollar is going towards my debt. Like I'm not doing anything else. Like I'm just gonna focus on my debt free journey. But now like I'm moving into a new apartment this summer, so I had to like set aside some of my money so I can, save for moving costs. Like, there's a lot of fees up front when you're trying to get an apartment, plus just like costs associated with moving. So I decided, I'm going to save a little bit for that. And then the other thing is, I am going to launch a money coaching program this summer.
Ooh,
Yay.
exciting.
I know, I'm excited. So, I had to like set up some things for that. Like, I'm making a website and other different, little things that I have to pay for. So I decided I'm going to invest, in that business as well. So I'm still paying off debt. I'm just not like for the past few months, I haven't like aggressively been putting towards my debt just because there are these other things that I want to do. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I am a firm believer of you need to enjoy your life because
Hmm.
on this debt, listen, this debt free journey can get real. It can get real discouraging at times because you're just like, oh my god, I can't do anything. Like, because a lot of these, I don't want to say a lot of these. There are some personal finance people that'll tell you like, oh, if you're in debt, all you can do is like pay your debt. Like, don't live your life. But it's just like you only have one life, so you need to be doing stuff that makes you happy. So this money coaching program is going to make me happy. Moving into my apartment is going to make me happy. So I'm okay with like putting money towards that for right now and still putting money towards my debt as well. But these are things that I enjoy. So
For
I,
sure. And you're
I'm okay with
investing in yourself, which is
it.
so important.
Exactly. 100%. Yep.
And I think you're working with Judy from Hear Me Finance, right?
Yes. Uh huh. Yep.
Y-
I am.
So I love what Judy says. Like, you need to celebrate every time you accomplish something small. And that
I
doesn't need to
agree.
mean like, you pay off your debt. So you're going to go and spend $10,000 to go to Bali to
Mhm.
celebrate. Like, you can make little celebrations big
Exactly.
by just
Yeah.
being grateful and just being like mindful about the
Yes.
amazing stuff that you're doing.
Exactly. I agree. And that's why I'm like, I have to like, I'm a big numbers person. So I'll like look at my debt numbers and I'll compare it to like where I was 3 months ago. Or, I'll look at percentages of like, oh, I've paid off this many, like this much percent of my debt or whatever. And it's like, it's real easy to get discouraged, like, especially if you have a lot of debt, but you have to celebrate every little thing because you really,
Mhm.
you've come a long way, honestly. And yeah, I love Judy because she has like dance parties for everything, and I'm like, girl, you crazy, but she's right. Like you gotta
Yeah,
celebrate stuff. I love it. Yeah,
you
she's
do. That's what keeps you motivated along the way, right?
exact for 100% for sure. Yeah, definitely, I agree.
All right. So now that you are crushing your own debt-free journey, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to get control of their finances but just doesn't even know where to start?
Yeah. Okay. So honestly, the first thing you have to do is just face the number. Like you have to just sit down and just write out all of your debt, whether you want to do it on pen or paper or you want to do it on a spreadsheet or anything like that. I think once you look at the number, that's when you're gonna either you're gonna be motivated or you're gonna be discouraged, but it's okay. Either one is fine. You know what I mean? But you have to face
Hmm.
that number. You need to like understand where you are, and also you need to like why do you want to pay off debt, like
Hmm.
what is your purpose, you know what I mean? Like for me it's because I am like I'm first generation. I want to build wealth for myself and my family. I'm going to have to help my parents when they're retired. It's just, there's so many different factors, and I don't want my kids to like, live the kind of life that I lived basically. And that why is going to be, the basically the guiding light throughout your journey, right? It's going to keep you focused. It's going to keep you motivated when you're discouraged, when you want to cry. Please cry also. Just let your emotions, it's okay, like feel all the feels, but your why is going to keep you motivated, right? That's going to be the reason why you're doing this. When you're discouraged, you're going to, think back on your why. So face your once you look at your number, decide on how you want to attack your debt. There are so many different payoff methods. Debt snowball is you. pay off the lowest number first, because it's like it gives you like a sense of satisfaction, and people like that. Uh, the avalanche is like you pay the highest interest first, and I'm a numbers person, so I don't want to like pay extra to interest. Or you can just do whatever, like a custom type of payoff. That's I feel like that's what I'm doing. Like I'm doing like the balance transfer. Technically, I'm paying more than the minimum on those credit cards and putting extra towards my student loans. Like it's just, it's really whatever you feel comfortable doing. You definitely need to have a budget. And people, I think a lot of when I tell my friends, like they'll ask me to do something, I'm like, I'm on a budget, and they're like, oh, okay. Like people think like you're broke, or you're poor because you're on a budget, but you're really honestly like empowering yourself and your money with your budget, because you're really telling you're taking control of your money, and you're telling your money where to go. So the
Mm-hmm.
budget, it's just like honestly, once I sat down and budgeted, I was just like, it's really not even that bad. Like I can still like go out and eat. I can, do these things. It's just in moderation. Like don't do it in excess. Like don't go out and spend two, $300, $400 on buying new clothes every month. You don't need those clothes. Like I mean, you might, but do you? I don't know. Just it's all. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. Just evaluate your spending and your own lifestyle. And I think one of the most important things, which we've already touched upon, is like just create fun within your budget as well. You need to have something that's going to keep you happy, like not just on this debt free journey, but in life. Like if you're a person that enjoys books, put in your budget that you can you buy 2, 3 books a month. I don't know. If you like coffee, and you don't want to make your own, put that in your budget. Like put
Mm-hmm.
coffee in your budget. It's just like you need to enjoy your life. I love to travel, so I put that in my budget. I make sure I have like I put a certain amount of money towards my travel fund every single month so that I can travel during the summertime. So I think that's another thing. Put, you know, um, some type of fun in your budget. And then the last thing is you need an accountability buddy. You need somebody that's going to keep you um, like on track. You know what I mean? Somebody that's going to check in with you, or somebody that you check in with, and that you tell them about your goals. Like when I was first on this debt free journey, I only told like 3 people about it. I told my
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend, I told my best friend, and I told my sister. Like I didn't tell anybody else. Honestly, I was a little. I don't want to say I was embarrassed. I was not embarrassed because I was in debt, but I didn't really want to share like all that. It's very intimate, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you don't have to tell the whole world about it. You don't have to make an Instagram account about it. You can like I did that at the beginning, and I was anonymous for a really really long time. Like nobody saw my face, and I was because like I was ashamed. I was like I don't want anybody that I know to find this and see like like how much debt I have, etc. But
Mm-hmm.
just find like one person. You really only need that one person, but that's gonna keep you accountable. So, all right. So just to recap, because I just talked a lot. face face the number, create a budget in some fun, and find yourself an accountability
This
partner.
is all excellent, excellent advice. And I think if you listen to this and you take nothing else away but those 4 steps, you will be on the road to tackling and getting rid of your debt. And I especially love your advice about an accountability buddy, because the same way that we talked before about how there's a lot of bad influences out there. There can also
Hmm.
be a lot of good influences. And it's just about
Exactly.
surrounding yourself with the people that are going to push you to be better, right? That's what this is all about.
Exactly, for sure. And it could be somebody, it doesn't even have to be like say you make an Instagram account. Like I'm just gonna give a quick story, like example real quick. There's a girl that DM'd me and was like, I'm sorry if this sounds really weird, but could we do like monthly Zoom check-ins to like keep me accountable on this one financial goal that I have? And
Oh, that's
honest,
awesome.
you know what I mean? And honestly, if this was like my personal, account and some random person like DM me, I'd be like, dude, you're a freak. What are you doing? But this is like, my Instagram that I talk about personal finance. I was like, yeah, girl, let's do it. And we've met like 3 times the past 3 months. Like she shared with me what her goal is. She wants to pay off some card, like one of her cards by the end of the year. This is how much she has to put towards that card every month to make that goal. And we've been checking in once a month for the past 3 months. And I think it's awesome. Like it's hard to reach out to a random person, but if you really there's nobody in your life that you feel like you want to share that with them yet, then I don't know, just reach out to somebody on Instagram and be like, hey, do you want to be accountability friends? Don't
That
be
is
like,
so true. I love the debt-free community on Instagram because I
me
feel like
too.
we are just like family, even though none of us have ever met for the most part. Like, there's just this sense of community and just us all kind of like pushing each other to be better and sharing our successes and sharing our failures. And it's just like such an empowering space.
I know, I love it so much. It's really, like you said, it's like family, and there's I don't often encounter much negativity in the DFC. I feel like everybody is so just like, and they're so helpful too. You know what I mean? Like if
Yes,
you like slide into somebody's DMs and they'll answer your question for the most part. Like everybody is, like you said, we're empowering each other and we're helping each other because we all have common goals, and we know that us reaching our goals is not going to take away from like other people reaching their goals, or like saying like,
hmm,
if I root for you, it's not going to take away from me reaching my goals. You know what I mean? So all of us like
absolutely.
helping each other out is, yeah, I love it. It's amazing. Definitely.
So, speaking of empowerment, what is your money mantra?
All right. So I have like three things that I always say like millennial money is about, and it's budgeting, crushing debt, and building generational wealth. So it's not really like, I guess, a money mantra, but those are the three things that I feel like are like the key to what I'm trying to do. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
my
you know
end
your
goal.
mission.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. All
Yeah.
right. So, where can we find out more about you and follow your journey, Miriam? Thank you
All
for
right.
being here.
Of course, of course. So you can follow me on Instagram at Melannial Money. So it's Mellannial and then money. That's where I'm at. Like I document my whole debt free journey. I post my monthly budgets, how much debt I've paid off, etc. And you can also find me. My website actually is live now. So you can go to
Yay.
my website. Yeah, you can go to my website. It's millennialmoney.com. If you go to my Instagram, you can also just click on the links and it'll take you to my website. And then you can also email me if you want at millennialmoney@gmail.com. If you have any questions, you can DM me. I always respond to people. Like I just want to help as many people as possible. So please feel free to reach out to me
Well, I
anytime.
feel the teacher in you comes out when you talk about money. Like, you are so on point with just sharing information that is impactful and meaningful, and I know I'm rooting for you and your DFC and
Oh,
in your
thank
debt-free journey.
you.
I'm so excited to see you win, and I'm so excited to see you launch your business and just keep changing lives by sharing this information and being an inspiration to others. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
No, thank you so much for having me. And you too. This podcast is so amazing. I remember
Thank you.
when we first found each other, I don't even remember when or how that happened, but I remember I was listening to it and I was just like, yeah, this is amazing. Plus the name is amazing. Like the name is so cool. It just, it just rolls off the tongue. And yeah, I love all like what you've done so far, and congratulations on all you're doing. I'm also rooting for you. I saw that you had
Thank you.
11,000. Is it 11,000 now downloads?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
We're ticking.
Yes, we are. You go, girl. But thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having me. Yep.
As a reminder, if you're loving the Yo Quiero Dinero podcast, please make sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share. That way, amazing listeners like you can find us too. We want everybody out here being poderosa with their money. And so if they know about us, they can start doing that too. If you don't already follow us on social media, make sure that you follow the Yo Quiero Dinero podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and even TikTok. Yep, we're doing TikToks too. And don't forget to visit the Yo Quiero Dinero podcast blog, where you can find episode show notes, as well as personal finance articles, news about events, and more. Until next time, guys, stay thrifty, stay strong, stay inspired, and stay poderosa. On the Yo Quiero Dinero podcast and associated entities, all information provided is for general information purposes only and does not constitute accounting, legal, tax, or other professional advice. Listeners should not act upon the content or information found here without first seeking appropriate advice from an accountant, financial planner, lawyer, or other professional. We assume no responsibility for information contained on this podcast and associated entities and disclaim all liability with respect to such information, including but not limited to any liability for errors, inaccuracies, omissions, or misleading or defamatory statements. Usage of this podcast and associated contents constitutes an explicit understanding and acceptance of the terms of this disclaimer.